It was 1978, and Dick and Tom and I were in a firm of some terrific lawyers. But we decided that maybe we wanted to do something different. And Tom and Dick had just completed a huge case in Tallahassee for General Motors that gained nationwide attention. So Tom and I talked about forming a new firm, and he said, let me tell you, it's vital that Dick go with us.
Bud mentioned this to me sometime in there, and I think it took me at least 3/4 of a second to say yeah. At that point, I was about 7 years into my law practice. And the more I thought about it, the more it seemed pretty obvious that what we would be capable of doing in the new outfit was really a large step ahead of what we'd been doing. And so that was a very easy decision on my part.
We initially decided that we wanted to do things a little differently than the other firm. And so we came up with a plan, we executed the plan, and the firm had a beginning.
Bud took the labor and ore really on setting the firm up. He established the procedures that we were going to follow, some of the things that we were going to do, how we were going to do it. And really, when you get down to it, that's pretty much the way we do things today. I will never forget that first day that we opened up, which is October the 2nd of 1978, was the quickest day of my life. I had no more sat down in my chair that morning than it was 6:30 in the evening, time to go home. It was absolutely amazing.
We were a couple months from having our own space, so we were fortunate enough to find a couple offices on the 6th floor of the Day building, right below the old firm. And so we crammed ourselves into there. And early on, I had this feeling in the pit of my stomach, it's just gonna work. And then all of a sudden, we had this avalanche of new work. And we found ourselves crawling all over each other in this cramped up space. And that was the impetus for Tom's famous memo. It is getting very tense. I believe it's a combination of work and perhaps more importantly, space. We're going to have to exist in these quarters for another 60 days or so without any collective alternative. Accordingly, the following is necessary and will be expected from everyone. 1, understanding each other's work problems. 2, no public criticism of anyone or their work at any time.
We're not going to have warring factions. We're not going to have us versus them. We're not going to have any backbiting. We're going to support one another.
Number 3, everyone helping each other. If there's not something pressing you, ask someone if they can use a little help.
You know, as we work as a team, and that's the way we've been doing things for the last 40 years.
The message from the memo was clear, and Tom's last statement is cooperate or else. He followed that with a exaggerated threat that brought a smile and a laugh to everyone who was reading it. Well, seminally, Tom and I had thought, gosh, this firm might get to 12 lawyers and probably break up and we'd all go our separate ways. And after 10, 12 years, we suddenly found there were 70, 80, 90, 100 lawyers. It had been a rousing success.
Tom was always the visionary, but I don't think any of us really expected the success and the rapid growth that we had.
Tom had an ability to lift everybody's spirits. He could laugh in the face of adversity, and everybody was always in a better mood when Tom was around. But Tom was a showman first, last, and always. Tom was a guy who could walk into a room, take it over. He was 6'4", 6'5", exceedingly handsome, walked like the Marine he was. But above all, Tom was a phenomenal trial lawyer with a record unmatched.
The thing that always impressed me about Bud was his ability to keep a level head, to keep things flowing smoothly, and that both in the courtroom, and it's keeping the office running. Bud has gone into jurisdictions that it was impossible to win lawsuits. They were plaintiffs' paradises. And he's gone into several of these places and come out with defense verdicts. I mean, nobody could believe the results that he's gotten.
When we decided to open our 4th office, and that was going to be Tampa, Dick raised his hand and said, "I'll take the reins and do that." And Dick went over, and since then he's been the beacon, the leader, and the example for developing an unbelievably successful office. And Dick's contributions have been vital to the firm for its entire 40 years.
When Tom and Bud and I first started talking about joining together, we agreed right off that we were going to be trial lawyers and not litigators. Big difference.
The point being that we wanted to take cases to trial. We weren't out to settle. There's some firms that work cases all to pieces just so they can settle them. That wasn't us. We looked to our trial a final verdict.
Client has enough confidence in us to ask us to take on their case. That we ought to have the intestinal fortitude to be able to take that case to trial.
We take the hardest, most difficult, toughest cases that there are, cases that nobody else wants to take. And our theory is, if we win one of those for a client, we've got that client for life.
When you do that, people take notice.
At one point, we were one of the top 3 or 4 product liability firms in the country for General Motors. We tried cases in Maine and in California and everywhere in between. And if any client decided they wanted us to try a case in Alaska, we'd say, "Tell us what city, our bags are packed." And you can't try a big case without teamwork. And we organized our entire approach around teams, and it was with teams that we made our mark.
We really try to make every member of the team realize that they are valuable and that they are valued. Nobody on the team is really more important than anybody else, whether it's the partner, the associate, legal assistant, secretary, runner, what have you. If we all don't work together, we're not going to be very successful.
We never leave any stone unturned. We're never surprised at trial.
Well, we've always had people who are just as different, as different can be. But I think our people, share, 2 qualities. Professionally, again, we're trial lawyers, and we do what's necessary for the client. Personally, we recognize that each person, is entitled to respect.
Early on, Tom and I had a conversation while we were talking about an interviewee for an associate position, and we determined that we can't all have associates and staff and lawyers that march to the beat of the same drummer. We want diversity. We want people to walk differently, and we have to respect those differences, and that is one of the hallmarks of our firm. Every month, our firm publishes a list of birthdays and anniversaries of staff and lawyers. And I'm amazed at the number of 20 and 30-year anniversaries that show up periodically throughout the year.
Every year, we have a trial competition for our summer associates. This is something that Tom came up with years ago, and it's been very, very successful. It gives the summer associate a chance to get out from the library and actually do something that practice lawyerly skills.
They practice their wares before seasoned trial lawyers, and this has become a feather in our cap for recruiting at various law schools, because our summer associates have something nobody else has.
If you're going to be a successful trial lawyer, you have to like it. Otherwise, it's just too hard.
Don't just wait for an opportunity. Take it. No, don't take it. Seize it and jump into it with both feet. No holds barred.
As I look around, I see our younger people who in 10, 15 years are going to be our senior people. And that gives me a lot of confidence.
When Tom and I first started talking about this, we got together and we made a commitment that if there ever came the day that we didn't enjoy going to work, then we were going to break this place up and go our own separate ways. And that hasn't happened yet.